All right, you are live.
Okay. Good afternoon. This is the Cleveland Community Police Commission Police Training Committee meeting. It is 6:03 and we are getting our meeting started. We will welcome to everybody who is watching online and anyone who may be joining us in person. I am chairing in place of Commissioner Dr. Adams, who is still with us on the call, but since he is remote, we thought it would be easier to have me guest chair the meeting. So happy to be here with everybody. We will start with a roll call, and we'll start with Commissioner Dr. John Adams.
Present.
Commissioner Gregory Reaves.
Present.
Commissioner Charles Donaldson.
Present.
And Commissioner James Chura, who has an excused absence for this week. And then myself, Shandra, Benito, am present. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda for our meeting?
A motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting. I'll second.
Okay. I don't think we need to roll call vote that. So we will go to the first part of our agenda, which is the announcement of work groups and police training review committee representatives. So we have two work groups that have been formed, and one is the use of force work group, and that is led by Commissioners Chura and Donaldson. Is there an update on that work group?
No updates at this moment.
Okay. Great. And then we also have the Training Review Committee, which is a committee of CDP that we are sending two representatives to, Commissioners Donaldson and Reaves. Is there any update from you guys? Did you attend that meeting this month? Is it a monthly meeting? Quarterly meeting. Oh, okay. So there wasn't a meeting this month. Okay. So great. Well, good job, everybody. We're moving to the next agenda item. We'll also do an update on the status of police training. So we did receive the in-service preload and in-service training material. Just want to say a thank you to Commander Magoo's, Lieutenant Ryan, and Lieutenant Smith for working with us on this. We did review, I think it was close to 70 pages of preload material, and we sent out, I think it was about 6 pages of feedback. Our feedback, just for anybody who is listening, the in-service is every year. And I will ask Lieutenant Smith to correct me if I am saying anything incorrect. But each year, law enforcement receives an in-service training where they go in-depth into different GPOs and different training areas of policing to make sure that all of our officers are staying up to date on best practices and practicing the correct application of CDP policies. And each year they choose a different set of topics to go over, and the preload is a pre-training that is done prior to being in person for the hands-on training that kind of gets them reviewing some of the policies, reviewing previous content from other trainings just to get them refreshed, that then they come in kind of in the right frame, with the right kind of foundational framework for when they do the in-person in-service. So that was what we reviewed. There were a number of different topics that were covered, everything from investigatory stops, uses of force, crowd control, bias-free policing, were, I think, some of the largest topics. And we gave a number of different kind of pieces of feedback that range from everything from suggestions on different scenarios that were given, or on different multiple choice questions, or suggestions on wording, to suggestions of some additional content that could be included to help the officers go in more depth. And I did talk to Commander Magooth this morning, and also Lieutenant Ryan, and they let me know that they are going through and responding to each of our suggestions. They did say that there are certain things where we might have suggested a change, but they can't change the way it's in there because that's the way it's written in the policy, and they can't divert from the way it's written in the policy. So they said that they'll, make sure that that's communicated, but they're making all of the changes as long as it doesn't kind of conflict with division policy. And then once they make those changes, that will be sent to the courts, to the Department of Justice for review, and then the Department of Justice will send them back comments. So that's where the training, where the work on the training is right now. And then he did say that they are getting ready to work on next year's in service, and so they look forward to working with us collaboratively on that, and that will give us more lead time to be able to work with them on identifying areas and going more in depth with that. Is there anything, Dr. Adams or other commissioners, that you guys would want to add about the feedback process?
Yes, the only question I have is if they are planning on responding to our feedback separately, or will that just kind of be put forward and we'll have to kind of go through it ourselves and figure out what was done or not done?
I got the impression that they were going to go through it and respond in the document.
Normally, that's what we do. We
Yeah.
respond to the document.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the impression that I got. Dr. Adams, anything you want to add to that?
I think the only thing I would want to add is I think that we may need to, I don't know if we would want to do it now, or we could maybe do it at the next meeting, but we should probably, from our end, figure out sort of like what our processes, like we should probably figure out if we're going to do like some type of meeting or get together to sort of figure out the process, like how we finalize the training, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if we had that discussion, but we probably should.
So how we would offer our final approval on the...
Right.
Okay. So I think the one thing we could do is we could ask the training division once they receive their comments from the DOJ, and then they respond to our comments, which I think they're going to respond to our comments and then make their changes and then send it to the DOJ. We could ask them once they incorporate the DOJ's comments, maybe then it gets sent to us for approval. Any thoughts on that?
That's what it sounds like.
I don't know, once they get comments from the court, I think that I wouldn't want to do a second potential. I could see concerns of doing a second round of revisions, because at that point, then they would have to go back to the court again. And I know that they're on a little bit of a time crunch. And Commander Magooth did express, looking forward to this next year, that they said that this is the first year they really feel like they've been able to really get started as far in advance as they had wanted to. And that's going to allow a lot more, I think, collaboration, that we can do it on not such a tight schedule. But any thoughts on that? Like that we ask them for the final version of the preload after they've incorporated the court's comments, or did you have another idea, Dr. Adams?
I think we should just wait for what the court says, and I think we'll get to look at it. And I think if there's nothing like too glaring, I mean, obviously if the court has some concerns, then we're going to have to address them. So I think sounds like the right thing to do would be to wait for the revisions to be made and then see what the court's response is. And I think we just have to decide how we just move forward from there. Like, no point in putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Can he just
Yeah,
sit at the table with us?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, come on up. Yeah, are you comfortable sitting with us in the
Sure.
meeting? I feel like,
I think you guys are using the wrong terminology. It's the monitoring team at DOJ will review and make their comments. Once this completed and both sides agree on everything, then
Yeah.
it gets submitted to the court, and that's the final process. So,
okay. So are you guys right now at the phase where the submission for the final approval, or at the getting the comments from the court phase?
well, we incorporated your comments, and we're gonna ship it off to the monitoring team at DOJ. And they'll come back with feedback. And if you wanted to see the feedback from them before they submit it to the court, it's gonna be a long process. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think Commander Magoof was trying to figure out a better process
Mm-hmm.
to make sure this runs a lot smoother.
Yeah.
So I think we all should sit down with Commander Magoof. I think he's working on a process.
Okay,
That
cool.
would help everybody.
Yeah, so maybe Dr. Adams, I feel like I'm being very loud. Yeah. I think that sounds good, and having a conversation with Commander Magoof to work that out. Dr. Adams, do you have thoughts on how you want to proceed with that? Would that be something you'd like a couple commissioners to work on with Commander Magoof?
So I think we've already identified, I think commissioners, I have my notes. We have Commissioners Donaldson and Reaves that are the representatives for the TRC.
Yeah.
So if they, I feel like that would be the duty of those reps.
Okay.
However, if either of them can't make it, I would step in. I can't join because it creates quorum for our committee.
Yeah.
So that would be the responsibility of the TRC representatives, which again are
Donaldson and Reaves.
Donaldson and Reaves. But like I said, I'm always willing to be like a backup if there's a conflict in the scheduling for both of them.
So is that something that you guys would be willing to sit down with Commander Magoof and their division to talk through, maybe coming together with a proposal for how we could all work this process together?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's why we joined.
The other thing I'll add really quick, just a question, maybe for Jason, but the feedback we sent, is that published somewhere, or how does that normally work? Like, would our comments be put on the website, or, because I know that, I guess some of the members from the community were asking what type of feedback do we provide? So I'm just wondering if there's a way for them to see that.
So to the chair, we're working on revamping the website by the current structure. So each committee will have a dedicated page with the work that they've done. In this instance, feedback would probably be delayed until after the training in some instances, because I understand these scenarios have to be withheld from the officers so that they don't know what they're doing in advance in these training scenarios. So we can't throw out the training scenarios and let the whole division have a cheat sheet to know exactly how they're being evaluated. So in these particular instances, we will probably withhold the feedback until the training has occurred, and then we will explain to the public how we contributed to that training. They are, however, public records. So if we were to have a public record request, we'd have to work with the law department on what exactly we can release. So there is no such thing as top secret documents, unfortunately. So if someone were to be insistent, but I would ask the community to be respectful of the fact that seeing this training in advance gives the officers an advantage. And it doesn't give the training section a true evaluation of the officer's ability unless they can see how they would react without knowing the outcomes in advance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Lieutenant Smith, are there any updates you wanted to share from the training division?
No, we're just gonna say we appreciated the comments, and we got great feedback, a lot of feedback, and we like that, getting positive feedback from you guys about the training.
Awesome. Yeah, we really enjoyed going through it, and I learned a lot from it, and I said this to Commander Magoof this morning, but we really see the efforts that the division is putting into training, and we're grateful for you.
And I think, to the chair, I think it's important to say that this isn't the normal process, right? So we jumped into this like someone was already spinning the rope and we had to jump into the rope when it was already spinning, right? But when we have things further in advance and we are able to do so, I would suggest that we get community feedback as well, right? So it's not just commissioners directly contributing to the training, but when we know, when we have 6 months to work on a training thing from origination, we'll be able to shop that out for feedback from community groups as well about, the training and things that they would like to see included in some of these trainings. So this was an instance where we were very time crunched. We came into a process where a lot of work had already been done and they're up against court deadlines. So we just had to hurry up and be reactive and do the best we could. But I think in the future, as training gets designed, we'll have a lot more lead time and we will be able to solicit some broader feedback from more people than just this committee, and I think that's always been the general idea of how this is supposed to work. So, we've done that in the past with when these trainings were first being developed and the policies themselves, we've taken it out to the community. We've had conversations with the community about what they'd like to see in it.
So next steps on this is that Commissioners Donaldson and Commissioner Reaves will set up a meeting with Commander Magruth and the training division to talk through a process for collaboration for kind of the training development process. And I think, as Jason was saying, one thing to keep in mind would be that we kind of talk about where community feedback can fit in and making sure that we're soliciting community feedback, probably not only on what topics are selected, but also on the potential content. And so by the next meeting, and then maybe Dr. Adams, if you could follow up with Commander Magruth to see if he along with our commissioners can present a proposal for that at the next meeting.
I'm sorry, I cut out a little bit. What was the request again?
Oh, I was just going to say, kind of like solidifying next steps. Do you think that maybe you could talk to Commander Magruth to see if, as a result of that meeting, we could have a proposal for at the next, like he can come and present at the next meeting to talk about a proposal for what that process looks like.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, great.
And I also wanted to just ask like Jason a question, because I do agree that we should it would be nice to have feedback from the community. I know that that there were people in the community. I know that Latanya Goldsby had expressed interest in sort of knowing what the what type of feedback we were providing and what it looked like. And then I was wondering, I know that people are interested, but like I mean, we talked last night at the accountability committee about so many work groups, but how would we proceed? If we had a work group, I think we probably do need a work group for some of this training stuff because people are interested. Can we reach out to people in the community and invite them into a work group, or do they have to request to be a part of it? I'm just trying to figure out like how that would work when people have already expressed interest.
So to the chair, the work groups, depending on, we've never excluded anyone from someone with the interest in attending work group meetings. What level of interaction depends on the particular work group. So if we're looking for large community feedback on something, we typically plan a special event around that. So we've done facilitated table discussions where, for instance, we've put a curriculum on the table in the early days of the consent decree or a policy on the table, and just the community walked through it page by page, provided feedback. We aggregated that feedback, and then provided that as a package to either the division itself or to the specific unit, like the training unit that was working on that. So for larger scale endeavors, like let's say they were doing a massive update of their entire bias-free training, right? So in that instance, especially if the policy was being updated, concurrently, we would try something like that. For work groups, you can either invite specific experts, right? So if they're looking at cultural competency training, you want to, maybe reach out to a university and ask them, if they're teaching that curricula at a university to contribute to that. Community members will have perspectives. You're not going to exclude that, but sometimes you want subject matter experts. Sometimes you want broad community input. So you really have to flesh it out by project, depending on what particular project you're working on at the time, and then who is your target audience for feedback that will best serve that moving this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. So yeah, we have our next steps. Thank you to everybody. We are now moving into new business, which is the August 9th Police Training Committee meeting planning. So we had a conversation in our last meeting about having our August meeting have a demonstration of some of the scenario-based training that the training division. Is it correct to call it the training division?
Training section.
Training section. Thank you so much. Okay. To have a presentation from the training section on the kind of how they're using scenario-based training, and actually to give an example and to walk through scenario-based training, and what they show, what kind of questions that they engage with officers on. And I think that we had expressed this as an opportunity for us to kind of get some experience with seeing what our officers are, how they're engaging in training, and then also that this could be an opportunity to also invite the public in to get some information and to experience that as well. And I think also a way to also kind of celebrate the good work that is being done and that people can see it firsthand. So we talked about doing that in our August 9th meeting. So it is July 19th. So that meeting is quickly coming upon us. So I think the first thing that I might want to ask is, does that seem feasible to put together an event? I mean, I'm sure that we could work with the training section to be able to do it, but does that give them enough time? Does that give us enough time to really engage the public in that?
To the chair, I would say August 9th is can happen, but it won't get you the results you want. So this would be something I would say you need 60 days of lead time on. If you want the community and you want to work with the training section to have them educate the community, educate commissioners, walk people through a simulated scenario, right? Maybe one that's an older one, right? I think it's an excellent idea. I think it'll probably be one of the most successful events we've ever had. And I think it will pay a lot of dividends to build, help that relationship go between the commission in the community and the division in the community. And I think the leadership of this training section would be absolutely good with this, but we need to take myself, designees from the training section, and at least one commissioner here and really plan this out, right? We need to say, where do we want to have it? How much logistics need to be had? We need to put a budget to it, right? They need to get divisional approval probably from the chief, maybe even the safety director to do something like this, right? So there is, and then advertising. If we want it to be a success, we want to fill that room. I would love to have, 100 community members go through a simulated training scenario, but that's a lot of logistical planning. And so I think that I think it's a wonderful project. I think we should put it in our framework. But I would ask that you probably give us a 60-day lead time. And Lieutenant, do you have anything to add to that?
Just finding the location and working out the logistics is going to be the hard part. So, sorry.
Okay.
Just working out the logistics, that will be the hard part. And 60 days will be more feasible.
Thank you, both Executive Director Goodrich and Lieutenant Smith. So to coordinate with our recurring meetings and to also ensure a 60-day lead time, I think that would put our first meeting at
No, sir.
60 days will be right after my birthday, September.
Yeah, well, right now our September meeting would be less than 60
To the
days?
chair, it could be a special meeting, so this could be
Oh,
a
okay.
special meeting. It doesn't have to fall in your exact schedule of this committee, right? So
Okay.
you can have a choice. So you would be able to cancel your regular committee meeting in favor of this special committee meeting, maybe in September, and we pick a day in September, late in September to do this or whatever. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be. This would be what I call a special meeting, right?
Okay.
So a special event,
Yeah.
not necessarily have to fall on the same schedule.
Yeah. So it might make sense for us to, while we're here, to maybe knock out a few of the kind of proposal details. And so the one, I think, let's start by looking at date and maybe a couple potential dates that we would obviously then work with the training section to make sure those dates work. But maybe let's look at our calendars, and Jason can pull up the commission calendar and come up with a few options. Jason, do you have a particular opinion on what days of the week get best attendance from community members?
To the chair, I would maybe even consider doing this on a Saturday, perhaps. If you want to get maximum community input. Otherwise, it would have to be an evening event, and those are hit or miss any day
Yeah.
during the week. But if it's a weekend and there's no conflicting major events, I think you'll already have the interest in this. So
Yeah.
But I would say after you pick the dates, just come up with what your general objective is for this, and that's all we really need to move forward with planning it.
Okay. So does choosing a Saturday in September in the latter part of September, so looking at September 16th, 23rd, or 30th, sound like a good option for commissioners?
Not the 16th for me,
Okay.
but should we take our lead from the training section? Because they're the ones that really got to put this together, like have them check their schedule and see what's best for them.
My thought was that we could just give them a couple dates, and then they can, say, and if those dates don't work at all, that's okay. We can drop it. I think sometimes it's easier to just start with a suggestion and go from there. Do you think a Saturday would be a problem for the training section? Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to go back and look at the schedules. And
Okay.
that's still like the end of the summer, people finishing up vacations, and the weekends are pretty busy in the city of Cleveland. So,
Okay.
but I'm not saying it's not doable,
Right. Yeah.
but we would have to look at it.
And again, it's just a suggestion. So it could be a weeknight. The only thing I would suggest is daytime business hours probably won't work for anybody on this side of the house. So I know a lot of the training sections probably detailed on regular business hours during the day, but so I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but if we want maximum community involvement, and the goal is to, educate the community and let them experience these things, we want to make sure that we can get maximum public attendance.
So
Can I just jump in real quick?
absolutely.
I was thinking, I do like the idea of a Saturday. So, how about if we did something like after Labor Day? We do have to be mindful. It is the summer.
This is after Labor Day. We're talking about September, the end of September, which is after Labor Day.
Okay. And then that would give us more time to plan and then promote.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So
So-
the 23rd or the 30th are the two options that we're looking at.
Yeah, and then perhaps we could just throw in Wednesday, September 20th as a potential option if Saturday isn't doable for the division. But I think we can, I think Lieutenant Smith has heard us that a Saturday would be preferable so that we could try to get maximum community involvement. Does that sound good as sending those three options? And then Dr. Adams, do you think we should have a couple folks, a couple commissioners or one commissioner take the lead on coordinating this event with the training section?
I mean, I trust the people on the committee, you know, to do that. I think the less people you have involved, the quicker things can move. So I would be
So you
okay
mean,
with that.
okay.
I mean, I would nominate either you or Commissioner Donaldson.
Yeah, no, I mean from our committee. I'm just, go ahead.
To the chair, I mean, Commissioner Donaldson and I would be in contact with them anyway.
Okay, so you guys want to take the
So
lead on
that, I would think, would be part of our conversation.
Okay, great.
And the only thing I was gonna add was maybe give another weekday evening option, maybe like October the 4th, because
Okay.
our full meetings are gonna be, I think, the end of the month, I
It's-
believe.
It's September 27th.
Yeah,
in
so
September.
September 20th, September 23rd, September 30th, October 4th is what I was thinking.
Great. And do you want us to email this to you guys, or do you feel like you can?
You can send an email, but I'll still go back and talk with
Okay.
Yeah,
with
and
the
we'll,
commander.
so logistically, we have Commissioner Donaldson, Commissioner Reaves, myself, and then we'll link up with Lieutenant Smith or Commander, whoever's designated the point person on this. Or usually, it's been my experience, you know, when we go over there, the leadership team at the training section, the whole leadership team's involved. So I imagine that'll probably be the case again. So and then we can plan some planning meetings based on those schedules. So now that I know who, I can take the point and set up some planning sessions for this.
Excellent.
But I think it's a great project. We can quickly fill in the objectives on that framework, and we'll be off to starting having something that's going to be very impactful, I think.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just a question for Lieutenant Smith. Has anything like this ever been done?
Not for the general public, you know, for maybe the mayor,
Yeah.
city council, or attorneys for the city want to see things like that. So not for the general public.
Well, we're really excited to get to do this with you guys. So great. Any other further thoughts on that, or items that we need to determine before we move on from that?
No, I'm really excited to get this planned and to bring the community in. I think it's an innovation, and I think it's gonna be a really good event for all of us in the community.
Go ahead.
We're excited too. We want people to see what we do.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
Wonderful. Okay. Is there any additional new business folks would like to bring up? Okay, so I'm just going to go over the next, the kind of action items that we've discussed from our meetings. So Commissioner Donaldson and Commissioner Reaves are going to have a meeting with Commander Magoo's in the training section to talk through and kind of create a proposal of a process that can be used for how we will collaborate with the training section on kind of our approval and giving feedback and on training. And then at the next meeting, and Dr. Adams is also going to follow up with Commander Magoo's on being able to come present that and have a discussion in our August meeting. And then additionally, Commissioners Donaldson and Commissioner Reaves and and Executive Director Goodrick will meet with members of the training section to go over the planning of our September meeting. We identified 4 dates that they will work on communicating with the training section to see if those dates work. And those were 2 Wednesday dates, September 20th or October 4th, or Saturday dates, September 23rd or September 30th. And then there will be some coordination of some planning meetings, and we will then get this going. So are there any action items I missed? Great. Are there any final comments from commissioners before we open for public comment?
Really, can I just say, I want to ask one question, and this is like just like a parliamentary technicality. Do we need to make a motion to move these items to another meeting, or do we, I just want to be clear, because it's kind of hard when you're on the phone, or did we essentially just like delegate all of these items that were under new business for the August 9th meeting out to different people? I just want to be clear.
I don't think that we need to vote on delegating items for action items. But I'll let.
I'm sorry, like lost in translation. This is
No, that's
part
okay.
about calling in.
No, you're doing
I'm
great.
asking, I know we delegated some things. I'm taking notes. What I'm saying is, I'm just going to try to get some clarity on the items that were technically on the agenda for
Oh,
the
I
new
see what you're
business for
saying.
August 9th. Do we need to make a motion to move those to the next meeting, or do we not need to do that because we essentially delegated things? That's what I'm asking.
I see what you're saying. So I think, yeah, he's saying that we had it on the agenda to maybe go through and write out the full proposal, but instead we're talking about you guys working on that offline. Does that need to be then adjusted through a motion?
To the chair, I think you have consent that you covered those issues in the way you intended to. So if the read on the agenda is if August 9th Police Training Committee meeting planning means the intent of that was to talk about this symposium we're planning, the use of force symposium. If that's what the August 9th training committee meeting was supposed to be, we agreed to move that to a different time, to extend the time to work on it, and basically put it into a small work group that to manage these items and come back with a plan. So you can put that under old business on your next agenda to get an update on the progress of these items. You have unanimous consent in this committee, so there's no need to call for a vote on anything. No one is disputing any of the delegation of work or anything in that order. So when things function this clearly, I don't think you need the formality.
Yeah.
So just for clarity, so our August 9th meeting now, that's just going to be us pretty much updating where we are in the process of planning for this community meeting with the police, the Saturday meeting.
It sounds like, and then also discussion of the process that Commissioners Donaldson and Reaves will talk with Commander Magooth about. I think that would also be part of the August 9th meeting.
And to the chair, in addition, there would be, hopefully by August 9th, you will have your sheet for the framework filled out for this committee, even if it's only this project. This is a large project, in addition to the TRC, which is an ongoing thing. So those two things are more than sufficient at this time, with the idea that if anything comes through TRC, you'll be adding a project.
So. And then the last thing I wanted to ask is for Commissioners Donaldson and Reaves, will you all be working on the location, or would we like to have? I mean, I'm willing to try to find a location, but I don't want to step on your toes because you're taking the lead on this. But that's one of the things we have to do as well. But I would be willing to work on that. But if you guys feel like, since you're going to be working with the police TRC, if you feel like you would like to, deal with that as well, I'm totally fine with stepping back. But I just want to just clarify, because we don't have we got to find a location.
I imagine that the staff would work on that.
That's fine. I just want to just make sure.
And my mic's dying. To the chair, we have to be in coordination with the division on that, because first we have to design the plan to know logistically how large of a place we need or what might work. I don't know what equipment the division might need to bring to something like this, so there's a lot of discussion on where this will be based on when we flesh out the logistical plan. So we're a little bit ahead of of even that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your thoroughness, Dr. Adams. Okay, any other things? I also just want to say thank you to Commissioner Reaves and Commissioner Donaldson for taking on these action items, and also Dr. Adams for your work with Commander Magruth on developing this overall process, and also your work on the CPC framework for this committee. Any other final comments? Go ahead.
To the chair, I just wanted to ask Lieutenant Smith, you said the TRC is quarterly. When is the next one? There's one more this year, right?
I don't have that date. Commander Magoof would. He chairs the TRC.
So I was trying to remember, I want to say that was in May.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't think
Commissioner-
I don't think an invite's gone out yet.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Adams, do you
Commissioner-
remember when the last one was?
Well, I know he's this was reforming the TRC because so many people had left and moved around. So
Okay.
that first meeting was reforming this TRC.
Mm.
So I don't know if he set the quarterly meetings yet, but I know the first one was trying to get everything back in place and get the right people in the right place.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, and then go ahead. Oh, did I hear something? Lieutenant Smith, do you have anything? You're our only public member of the public here today,
I'm
so
just here to help out and do whatever I can to help.
we appreciate it. So, barring any final items that need to be discussed, we will adjourn the meeting. So, great. Thank you, everybody. It is 6:44 and we are adjourning this meeting. Our next meeting will be August 9th at the same location. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this how you hang up?
I have no idea.
They just press
I don't know how you
the red phone
The red? I don't see a red.
or the phone